Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Bliving Translators. It's the first live talk show about translation and translators, and we're talking here about all kinds of things, from marketing our services to finding new clients to working with self-published authors and many, many more. And today, with me today is my amazing co-host Dmitry Konyukhov. Hello, Dmitry.
Hi, guys.
And our guest today is Nikki Graham. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, hello. How are you?
Great. And you?
Fine, thank you.
Today we're talking about Nikki's awesome resource pages for translators. That was something I came across, I don't know, about half a year ago, and I was just amazed at the amount of work Nikki had to put in all those pages and the amount of material that they contain. But first, could you please tell us a few words about yourself?
Okay. I'm a Spanish to English translator. Oh, sorry if I'm rocking, by the way. I better just explain that I'm on a Steppy, a balance board. So I'm standing up at a stand-up desk, and I've got this balance board to introduce a bit of movement. So if you see me, rocking from side to side, I'm not completely mad. That's what's happening. Anyway, so I'm a Spanish to English translator, and from Spanish from Spain into English from the UK. Which you can probably notice from my accent. And I live in Bournemouth on the southern coast of England. And I mostly translate these days leisure and travel and tourism texts. And I also do a lot of revision work, which is more often than not academic publications. And that's the humanities and social sciences that I focus on. And then I do a bit of localization from US to UK English as well.
And how long have you been translating?
I've been translating full-time since September 1999, so that's almost 17 years. Long time.
Wow. And how did you get into translation?
Well, before I was translating, I was teaching. I was teaching English in Spain, and before that, I was teaching French and German in London. So basically, I was a teacher. I left university and I just started teaching, and I was living in Madrid. And I just got very fed up with the teaching, and I had slowly sort of done a few translation jobs for people, here, there, and everywhere. And it was I just decided that when the new academic year started in September 1999, that I was just going to give up teaching completely and focus on translating, because I thought it would be more interesting for me at the time. I really needed a career change. And I also thought it would be financially more beneficial for me, which it has been. So basically, I started translating. And in those days in Spain, most of the agencies that I work for had a 90 days payment period. So you can imagine that's quite a long time to go without your money when you've been used to having a nice salary at the end of every month. So I trotted off to the bank and I said, can I have a loan? And they looked at all my figures. They gave me a loan. That tided me over the period, of the 3 months that I wasn't going to be getting any money. And I've been translating ever since. So it's worked out quite well.
Do you miss teaching sometimes?
Yes, I do. Sometimes I think that, it would be nice to have gone back to it. I don't think I'm going to do that now, because I'd have to go back to university and do at least a year's training. And I just don't have the financial means to do that at the moment, because I need to support a family. But maybe that's one of the reasons why I have done the resource pages. If you see what I mean, I've provided things which I hope will, and some of my blog posts as well, which I think will help people to become better translators. Help me also to become a better translator. When I do a blog post or I research the links and things like that, then I learn something too. So that perhaps that's the teacher in me. That's why I've provided all these resource pages.
And how long have you been blogging, consistently?
I've been blogging since about October 2013. Sorry. So that's only 3 years. No, 2.5 really. I don't know. Not too long, really.
Not too long, but you created so many pages and tons and tons of resources.
Yeah, well, once I got started, there was kind of like no stopping me, really. But I mean, I have to explain that the first one I did was the useful links. That's basically a page with monolingual dictionaries, multilingual dictionaries, and links to a few glossaries, and etc. etc. It's grown, and I basically produced it for myself. I don't like the bookmark thing that you have. I don't really like bookmarking pages. I'd never found that list was very handy. And so I wanted something which was more organized. I wanted to have a clickable page where I could go and see this list and go, oh yeah, I remember that resource. That's a good one to use. That might be helpful, and have it all organized. So basically I made it for myself and thought, well, I may as well share it with everybody else. Why not? And that's how the useful links page came about. And that was the first one I did, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or something like that. And since then, it's had 10,000 views, which is not bad. 2,000 on the old blog and about 8,000 on the new one, which I moved to WordPress 12 months ago because I got fed up with Blogger. I didn't think that, an aside, I didn't think that Blogger was very good. I thought that WordPress was, offered you a lot more possibilities. So, and since then, because lots of people have obviously visited the page, they've suggested resources, so it's grown. It's grown from other people's ideas and suggestions, so that it's not just a Spanish to English page, which it was very much at the beginning. It was just, really focused on languages that I did and translations, the kind of topics that came up in my translations. But I think now it's probably more useful for other people. I mean, I've even added a few resources for my daughters so that they can help them with their language homework.
And it's also organized. Sorry, Dmitry. It's also organized. I mean, you've put the links into different categories and different types of combined different types of resources. How long did it take you to compose all of that in that way?
Gosh, I have no idea. When I first do a resource page, it probably takes me at least 1 or 2 full working days. So, like a whole weekend or something. Or if I'm not busy, I will do it during the week. Once you've done it, then once you set up any page, I think that what you need to do is, what I tell myself to do is when I come across a link, you need to add it, not tomorrow or next week or when you have time. You need to add it now. Even if you've got a deadline soon, you need to add it now. It's only going to be 5 minutes. So working that way, I can manage to get the resources down on the blog and organized really, really quickly. But yeah, I've spent hours and hours and hours creating the various resource pages. But I don't regret it because primarily it helps me. And if it helps other people and gets people to visit my blog, well, I mean, I imagine that is beneficial for me as well.
And what are the most useful links for you personally that you have on this page?
Well, I use Reverso a lot, the dictionary, because that's for the Spanish to English. That's based on Collins, and I find that quite good rather than actually picking up a paper dictionary. It's especially good if you're working at a stand-up desk with not much table space, which I am. And I also use Google Scholar a lot. I quite like Google Scholar as a corpus. It's simple to use. It's quick. And it quickly tells me whether whether things are used or not in academic papers. Then another one that I use is a couple of thesauri. Power Thesaurus is a good one. Just trying to remember the name actually. And then the other one I can't remember. I think it's almost directly beneath it in the list. And then I use a couple of the collocations ones quite often as well. So, and if I'm going to put something on my blog, then I've also right down at the bottom of the list, I've got a list of sites which give you free photographs that you can use, which is also quite handy.
Yeah.
And then the World Times to try and work out when this blab was, for example. to try and find out what time zone we were all in so that we would actually manage to get here on time. That's in my list as well.
Yeah, figuring the time zone probably one of the hardest parts of our job.
It is.
Yeah, but that's very. Sorry,
normally,
it's also helpful for clients. If if I've got clients in the US and they're saying you need to hand this in such and such a time, it's quite good just to click on these things and make sure you're not going to be late.
I've recently noticed that if you use Google, you can just convert time using Google search. So, for example,
really?
Yeah, if you want to convert 12 p.m. EST into GMT, you can just type that query, convert, or just simply 12 p.m. EST into GMT, and Google will show you the exact time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I recently found out that there is no GMT anymore. Now it's BST and another one, I think it's IST probably, or something else. It was.
Well, we're on British summertime, at the moment, which is GMT +1. It's very confusing. Really confusing, but then you see in the winter we go back being GMT. But anyway, never mind.
Yes.
So you also have a page with a blog roll. So where you basically share links to all the blogs about translation or languages that you could find online.
Yeah, and some copywriting and things like that as well.
How did you come up with this idea?
Well, that was when I was on Blogger, and basically Blogger will only let you add 300 blogs into your reading list. And I basically got to the stage where I'd added 300 blogs. There was no more room for anybody. And I thought, well, somebody's going to have to go, but I don't want them to go and disappear completely from any list in my mind. I want them to be somewhere where I can access them. So, yeah, I started that page. I think that took me a day. And since then, I have improved the page as well because, at the beginning, it was just a list, again, mostly for my information. And I've added to it and I've, put it into more alphabetical order and I've divided it up as well. So, and if anybody listening would like to have their blog added to that blog roll, then just please let me know.
How did you find the blogs about translation? Did you just Google blogs about translation or something like that?
Well, first of all, I used the list that I had in Blogger. So basically, every single time I came across something in Facebook or Twitter, you read the article, you then subscribe. So I had 300 anyway to copy when I first produced the list, and then it's mostly when I mostly come across articles, I would say, in LinkedIn and Twitter. When I get there, I think to myself, no, I don't remember this person. I don't remember ever coming to this blog before. So I double check whether they are in my list or not. And then I put them in. Again, as I said before, immediately so that I won't forget. And so that it gets done.
I know that there are, bloggers who are professional bloggers, or probably not professional bloggers, but people who blog a lot. They have sometimes things called link parties or something like that, and that basically I would say that it's some kind of equivalent of networking for bloggers, where they just share links to each other's blogs and go from one blog post to another where they share those links. And I think that helps to build relationships. Did building this amazing and very exhaustive blog roll help you build some connections with other translators?
I suppose so. But to be honest, I find it very difficult to know whenever you get a connection with with a colleague or with a client, where they've come from or what they've seen or what might have influenced them on the way to contacting you. I mean, I suppose it has, because some bloggers will get notified when they get added to the page. I mean, if they have presumably ticked a box in their own website to be notified of when they get added anywhere, then so they then discover my blog, which is quite nice for me. I mean, if I've discovered theirs obviously first, and then they come and find mine. It's nice to know that you are sort of spreading yourself a little bit further.
I think that's how I discovered your resource pages. I think
really?
we were, yeah.
Did I add you?
Yeah, you added my blog, and then I just went there. I was just amazed because I've never seen that amount of links to translators blog in one place. That was something I was just overwhelmed with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably nearly 400 now. I haven't counted. Far too many to count. But yeah, it is a lot because, well, lots of people blog. And I'm not going to remove people who've stopped blogging either, because, you know, there are people who've either taking a long break or have just decided that, you know, they're not going to blog anymore. But I think that what they've written has value. So I'm not going to remove people just because they've stopped blogging.
Yeah, and people keep finding content constantly. So even if you've written something like a few years ago, people will still gonna find it even 2, 3, 4 years from now, just by Googling something. For example, I think I still receive comments on my articles that were written 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People just somehow they found it, or by Googling a keyword, or maybe they saw it on social network or somewhere else, and they haven't read it, and the article has been up for 2 years. So there are a lot of people who can benefit from this kind of a blog role that you have, because they can discover new and exciting content easily.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's great also that these things, you know, years later are still being read, that they're still relevant. You know, it's you know, sometimes you think that you know, a blog post can be so fleeting. You know, if it doesn't get read in the first, you know, couple of weeks, then nobody's going to bother. But, you know, in my experience, that's not true. You know, if I look at what pages people are, you know, or posts people are actually looking at, then, you know, old ones do come up quite frequently.
And you also never know when your post will be read by someone who needs to read your words at that particular moment. Yeah, that's also true. So would it be correct to say that you created the first 2 pages basically for yourself?
Yeah, sorry.
At first.
Yes.
And the next,
they were mostly for me. I use my useful links page every day, every single day. I'm the one that uses it the most, I expect.
But the next one, it's your page of resources, of links and useful resources for new translators. How did you come up with the idea for that one?
Well, I was contacted by somebody I'd never heard of. I think she had just finished her MA, and she wanted some advice. I think she contacted me via Twitter, and, you know, could you please give me some advice of what to do and everything? And I thought, you know, why are you asking me, you know, of all the people that you could ask? And then I thought, well, giving you advice, you know, telling you what you could do, where you could go, is going to be quite complicated. And so I wrote back to her and said, I'm not going to ignore you. You know, I am in the process of answering your query, but I'm going to make it into a page, okay, so that you know, you can click on various links and you can find information which other people have written. And so that's how that came about. As soon as, you know, not long after her query, as soon as I had a day free, I started the page, and obviously, you know, I started linking things like to Corinne McKay's brilliant pages, Marta Stelmazak, you know, with her business school for translators, the freelance box, etc., etc., etc. You know, pros.com, Translators Cafe, you know, where Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you know, the whole thing, including, of course, translation associations. I haven't got an exhaustive list because it would just take too long. You know, books on translation, etc. There was just so much, you know, to put on the page. And when I had what I thought would be enough for her to sort of, you know, get her teeth into and answer her questions and help her out, I made it go live, sent her the link first of all, and said, there you go. You know, there's the answer to your question. If you want some help about how to become a translator now that you finished your MA, and where you can look for work and where you can improve your skills and which organizations you can join, etc., 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 which books you should perhaps be reading, then go there. And then, of course, like all these things, once I'd done the page, it just grew. Because once your eyes are opened to the fact that you've got this page with, you know, links and tips for new translators, and you're listing courses, webinars, podcasts. By the way, I added you today, okay? Suddenly realized that I didn't have the Blabbing Translators in my links and tips list. So you've been added today in the podcast. You're the latest addition to the page. So, you know, once you've got your eyes open to what you can add, then as you're going through LinkedIn, as you're going through Twitter, etc., you know, I see things. I mean, things are on my radar basically, and I'll add this course, that podcast, and it became so big, the page, that I then had to split it into several sections, and I took out of it the articles for new translators, of special interest new translators, which is basically blog posts which I feel new translators would benefit from, although we do as well, I think, seasoned translators as well. But, you know, they're ones which are specifically helping you to perhaps answer the questions of, you know, how much should I charge? You know, what should I be doing to get a direct client? What's it like working for agencies? You know, which conditions are acceptable, not acceptable, etc., etc. So, and also how to improve our skills. So that's that. Then I have a separate page, which is books on translation, which I should probably work on and add some more. But, you know, it's got things by Chris Durbin, by Corinne McKay, etc., etc. It's not just print books. There's also some ebooks there as well. And gosh, I'm sure I spit something else off it, but I can't remember just at the moment. Time for me to have a slight coffee break and for you to ask a question, I think.
Yeah, by the way, a quick reminder for our awesome viewers tonight. You can actually ask Nikki questions. We have a chat window on the right-hand side. And if you have any questions for Nikki about her resources or about her work or anything else, just use the chat window and type your question, and we'll be happy to answer it. So, Nikki, you also make, I think you make reviews of MA programs. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's the latest big project, basically. How that started is that I was at a conference, and I met the first two people who wrote course reviews for my blog. It's Elizabeth Garrison and Helen Oakley Brown. They basically what they reviewed was the course by Corinne McKay, and then the course by Marta Stelmazak, the Business School for Translators. And it was after that that I went to another conference in London, and I met, I reconnected with some couple of people that I had met in Budapest at the first BP conference. You know, they all did an MA at Westminster. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if you could get together, all of you? They were a group of friends who now run the Deep End blog. I don't know whether you've heard of it. Yep, the Deep End blog. And I asked them if they would write a review of their MA course at Westminster, which was divided into 2 posts. And that was the start of it all. So once they'd done that, I thought, well, you know, why not extend it? It seems like a good idea. People were quite interested in it. I mean, I've never done an MA myself, but I think that in this day and age, it's important to do one. You know, if you want to have a career in translation and you're starting off in your, your early 20s, I think it's a very good idea to do an MA, because I think you learn a lot. From what I've read of all the reviews that have been on the blog, you learn a lot. And I think it really does prepare you and give you something on your CV that will make you stand out from somebody, for example, like me, who's just made a career change and doesn't necessarily have that proper grounding in translation. So it then just grew from there. And I can see that she's in the audience today. Nancy Mati, she very kindly, got interested in this because she teaches MA courses herself. And she's been very, very helpful and has put me in touch with lots of people that she has taught on her courses at the various universities where she gives them. And so it started to grow. And then once you've got the page, I mean, it's extraordinarily time consuming, the MA page, because I've got to basically go to the university page itself, the MA translation and interpreting courses, and from a lot of information, just try and pick out the basics, like how long it's going to take, what languages you can do, what kind of core things you can study, and then link it to the review. This is really, really quite time-consuming work, and it's going to be basically it's a project that I imagine is just going to take years. And very recently, I've just had the first one that is non-European. Basically the Monash University in Australia. Mm-hmm. So now it's open to everybody. First of all, I was just going to concentrate on Europe, but now the page has been done, so it's basically everywhere. And of course, my main aim with this is to help people who are thinking about doing an MA in translation to have their first contact with somebody who's actually done it. Somebody who can say, yeah, I did it. It was great. Look at me now. I'm doing this. I learned that. This was good about it. That wasn't so good about it. So that they can try and make an informed choice about where they should go.
And do the educational institutions know about your page? Have you tried reaching out to them, saying, "Hey, we have a review about your course"?
I think some of them have noticed. Yeah. On Twitter, Twitter's great. You see that way. I mean, if I don't do it myself, then somebody normally does it for me. They'll retweet it and they'll include, if not the actual languages department at that university, then they'll include the university, as a whole. And yes, that does help to get to get some recognition, and also for more, because at the moment I'm accepting 3 separate posts per MA course. That's what I've decided to limit it to at the moment, because obviously the idea is to expand to as many universities as possible. So yes, I mean, it has been good to link up with some of these people on Twitter and say, do you know of anybody who could help out? And also, keeping your eyes open on LinkedIn as well. If you come across an academic, to sort of like say, well, hey, I see that you teach, could you please think of anybody who might like to write a review for your course?
Were there any challenges that you faced while creating all of those pages? I mean, apart from finding the time for that, because I think it could have been a problem.
No, not really. I mean, no, it is simply time. I guess it is time that I could have been doing something else or writing a proper blog post. If you see what I mean. I mean, I've got a long list of blog posts that I would like to write, and I just haven't had time. I've written down the bare bones of the ideas, but unfortunately, once you've got these pages up and running, you kind of have to keep them ticking over. As I said, you come across something, you add to it, you tweak it, you make it look nicer, you make it more user-friendly. So, for example, I added up back to the top buttons on the useful links page because it was just getting so long. So I thought, well, send you back up to the top where there is then clickable words that you can that will then take you to that relevant section on the page to try and make it more user-friendly. But again, that was mostly for me because I was getting fed up with scrolling up and down into myself.
I think a lot of things get better because the people who use them most want to make it more convenient for themselves. So exactly. I think that's how it usually goes. Yeah.
Yeah, but the MA pages were definitely for other people. That's something that I did for others, not for me.
So how many courses have you reviewed so far?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
I think there's at least a couple of dozens.
Really?
Yeah, I think
there have been some repeats. You see, because like there's 2 for Westminster and other courses as well. Oh yeah, there are 2 for Bath. I've just Emily Bailey has just done one on Bath University, but we had one before by Beth Burley. So I don't know. In total, there are quite a lot. I mean, most of the guest posts on my blog basically are reviews of courses, and most of them are MA courses.
Do you have reviews for all the courses enlisted on your special page for the MA?
No, courses? I don't think so. I don't think so. Although at the moment, I'm kind of inspired to add a course if somebody writes a review for it, if you see what I mean. I mean, I'd love to have the time to, write more courses, but at the moment I don't, although I have been offered some help. So hopefully soon this will, the page will expand.
Mm-hmm.
So,
go ahead.
So can people submit like guest posts on your blog?
Yes. Yes.
And what kind of guest posts can they submit? And how they can do it?
Well, anything really. I mean, if I like it, I had to refuse somebody the other day because I just didn't feel it was suitable. It's the way it goes, really. It was a translation agency, and I just did not think that the post fitted. So that was that. But I mean, obviously, I'm interested in the reviews of courses, especially the MAs. But I'm basically interested in lots of things. I like revision is one of my pet subjects, and machine translation. But basically anything. Yes. Guest posts are fine. I like them.
And how can people submit them?
You need to send me an email.
Mm-hmm. So okay. if everyone wants to write a review for an MA program or submit a guest post on Nikki's blog, you can always send her an email, and then she will decide whether she likes it or not.
No, I've never refused a review of an MA course. Never. No, I've never refused one so far.
I haven't read all of them, but I read a couple of reviews. Have you ever had a negative review of an MA program?
Not really. There have been some people who have said a few negative aspects, but in a very nice way, if you see what I mean. So I don't know whether that's because there's nothing negative to say about it, or they're worried about any bad comeback that might come from saying something nasty about their teachers or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, interestingly enough, no, most of it has been very positive. But then people that don't agree, the comments on my blog are completely open and unmoderated. Okay, that's what I decided that the blog would be. So if you write a comment on a blog post, it will go live. Okay, and I'm unlikely to remove it unless it's it's inflammatory or derogatory about somebody. So people are always free to sort of say, I didn't think it was that good when I studied, but nobody has yet. Nobody has said anything nasty about any of these courses.
You mentioned that you've been offered some help with the MA pages, both for European and non-European MA programs. And so my next question is, how were your pages received by the translation community?
Gosh, I'm probably not the right person to ask that question. Hopefully.
I'll rephrase it. Have you received any feedback on your pages from the translation communities?
Yes, of course, it's all been positive. Yes, I have, but and it's been positive. Nobody said anything nasty, but then would they? No, it's all been very positive. I mean, I know that the useful links for translators page was, I shared that on LinkedIn in a couple of groups, and especially in the pros.com group, it received lots of comments, and lots of people were very happy with it. I'm very grateful. But I don't tend to share absolutely everything in group posts. I mean, on LinkedIn to groups, because I think that reviews of MAs is something that is really quite specific, and that you shouldn't perhaps bombard a general translation group with review after review of MA courses, which they are targeted at a specific audience. I don't do these things to get lots of people visiting my blog page. I mean, obviously, just a few hundred people, read these things, and sometimes it takes months and months and months for it to clock up to, just over 150 or something people reading it. As I say, they are specifically targeted at people who, when they need those pages, will come and then, read lots and make up their mind what they want to do, whether they feel that that an MA is right for them.
And how do you promote those pages? Do you use a buffer or something like that?
No, I do it all, or do it all myself. No, I just share it directly to Twitter, LinkedIn, Google Plus, and my Facebook page, and then I might share it again. And I have a few people who, obviously the people who subscribe to the blog get notification as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you get a lot of contributions from other translators for your pages? I mean, the useful links page. Obviously the MA pages, you do get contributions for that, but I mean other pages.
Yes, I have had contributions, but I mean, again, normally it's because I make a call for it, on Twitter. I say, has anybody got any ideas for this? Can you think of anything to add for this page? I mean, I'm always open to ideas, but I mean, people have got so much going on in their lives, they can't always remember when they come across something useful. Oh yeah, I could add to Nikki's page, I could tell her about it, but yes, people do, but I mean, generally it's because I do share these links on LinkedIn, for example, as well. I mean, that was those group posts that I did on linked into the pros.com and the IAPTI groups did give me loads of ideas, because the discussion was quite popular. If it's quite popular, it stays at the top of the list, and then it gets seen by more people for more weeks, and then people did come up with quite a lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I had to put in those back to the top buttons, because of all people's suggestions that just expanded.
And do you have any future ideas for pages with resources?
No, not at the moment. I'm just concentrating on what I've got at the moment. I think that's probably enough. I don't know. I might have some more ideas in the future, but no, at the moment I'm just concentrating on trying to expand the MA pages, and especially try and get more people, non-European universities, onto that page as well. If people could spread the word, please, that would be great.
Mm-hmm. We'll also put the link to those pages in the show notes, and we'll republish the post on the open mic, because there's quite a lot of people, so somebody could come up with something.
Okay, great.
Did this project of creating all those resource pages, did it help you in some way to promote your business? Obviously not directly, but in some ways.
Yes, I think so. I think that I think it must have done. I think it's probably also got me some clients in a roundabout way as well. But not that anybody has said, I saw this and I'm going to give you work or whatever. But yes, I think it does. I mean, it does help to make you feel less isolated and to make make connections. And I am quite surprised sometimes when I go places and people know who I am, and they say, "Oh yeah, I read your blog," and it always makes me think, "Oh really?" You think, "Oh gosh, you know who I am, and I don't know who you are," and that kind of makes me feel quite uncomfortable. But I never kind of know what to say really at that point. But yes, I think it does. Obviously. It does help, but that's not necessarily the reason why I do it. I mean, it's probably the reason why I started blogging, because it just got to me at the time, nearly 3 years ago, on Twitter and everywhere. They were saying, "Oh, you've got to have a blog. You've got to have a blog. Business is going to go nowhere if you don't blog." And I didn't feel that I had anything to write about, actually. At that time, I thought, well, if I start a blog, what am I going to say? And I just had no idea. And then I went to my first conference, which was the IAPTI conference in London, and I wrote about that. And I've not been back since. That was my very first post. It was a review of that conference, and I haven't stopped blogging since.
One thing I see that could actually bring clients to you is the way you approach creating those pages, because one can see that you put so much work into that, and they're also well organized. So if I were looking for a translator, I would love to work with someone who's so well organized. And,
oh, really?
Thorough. Yeah, that's the word.
Perhaps appearances can be deceptive. I don't know that I'm that well organized. I do like organizing the pages. I must admit that
We can't be well organized in all aspects of our lives. I think that's impossible.
Yeah, it is. It is impossible. But yeah, luckily you can't see much of my room from there, can you? So you can't see just how messy it really is. I find it easy. I mean, it's easy, isn't it, to organize a page? You know, it's so easy in WordPress, and you can make it look quite nice, and with all the clickable links and things like that. It's just nice to be organized. Yes.
Hmm.
So, of all the blog posts that you've written, what was the most popular blog post?
Oh, the blog post, or as opposed to an information page.
Yeah.
The most popular was the time to reverso your use of Lingy, which again is all about resources. Because a lot of people use Lingy, which I don't like very much. I've heard that it is probably quite good for German, German-English combination, but it wasn't working for me for Spanish-English at all. And when I found Reverso, that I found the dictionary much better, and the Reverso context, where they show you the word used in sentences as well, I found was much better than Lingy. Although it does depend on what you want to use it for. I think that if you are a technical translator, you might find that Lingy is much better, but you'll just have to double check absolutely everything that's in it. And since I wrote that post, because that was quite a few months ago, I have noticed that creeping in some really, really horrible bad translations into the context area of Reverso context. So I suppose it swings and roundabouts. But yeah, that was a post that I wanted to do, focusing on the resources, which was one of my ideas for blog posts. Basically, I do want to try and go through my list of useful links and try and highlight some of the ones that I use and explain to people why I use them, to perhaps help people to discover a resource that they had overlooked so far.
Have you ever thought about creating a resource page for clients, for translation buyers?
No, not really. To be honest, some of the pages that I write under the bite-sized tips were inspired by clients' bad writing, frankly. When I do revisions of academic papers, quite often that they've been haven't been translated. They've been written directly into English or translated in their mind, basically, and they're not very good, and they can make the same mistakes again and again and again. So the idea was for a lot of the bite-sized tips pages to be focusing on some grammar and vocabulary issues. But again, I don't really have a lot of time to do those pages. I haven't done one for ages because I just simply run out of time, basically.
The reason I ask this question is because we often hear that if you do have a blog, then you have to blog and want to use that blog to find translation work. You have to blog not only for your fellow translators, which is, I think, simpler for all of us, but also for clients. So I thought, by analogy, that probably it would be an interesting idea to create resource pages for clients and include things like, I don't know, Chris Durbin's guide to buying translation and things like that.
Well, that's a very good idea. Why don't you do it?
Yeah, probably I should do it.
See, it's a really good idea.
Yeah. You have a great idea. Act on it.
Exactly. No, I don't think so. To be honest with you, I think that judging by how many Spanish to English translators there are and how many blogs people have, the chances of a client, when they plug something into Google saying, "Oh, I want a Spanish to English translator," landing on my page is pretty small. I'm not very good at knowing why, about all these SEO things anyway. And I feel that that is in some ways is pointless. my website, or at least the website part of it, the part that actually advertises my services, is to give clients more information, not to attract them, if you see what I mean. I think that I have written posts which are directly for clients or more aimed at clients. And I actually feel that publishing them on LinkedIn Pulse is far more useful than publishing them on my website or on my blog, which is what I will do. I mean, I will publish it there as well. But if I have a post which I want a client to read and think to themselves, oh, you know, I might hire this person, then I'll go to LinkedIn Pulse and do it there, because you're far more likely, I think, to attract people who don't actually know you, who you're not actually connected to yet, and who therefore you might then send you a connection request, and you know, work might come from it. So the blog, I feel, why not? If I want it to be for just fellow translators, then I think that there's no harm in that. I'm not going to build a blog now which is directly aimed at direct clients.
So do I get you right that you first, if you have a post targeted at clients, you first published it on LinkedIn and then on your blog? And is there any reasons why you do that? In that order, I mean?
Yes, because I want the most traffic to be on LinkedIn. If you see what I mean, because I think that LinkedIn is somewhere where I am far more likely to attract the attention of a client or even an agency that has never heard of me before than on my blog. Okay, because you know, I suspect that the followers that I have on my blog are only fellow translators, and they're all going to nod their heads if I write something which is targeted at a client and say, oh yeah, you know, that's great, yeah, clients should know about this, but they're not going to know about it. And then even if it gets shared on, you know, Twitter, etc., you know, some clients, potential clients, might read it. But I just feel that LinkedIn is a very good business site, and that you're just far more likely really to attract people's attention. And if if I manage to write something which is of interest that gets shared, then you know, something could come out of that. And then after a certain amount of time, then I'll post it on my blog, basically just so that I've got it there, because I am quite organized really, and I like to have everything in one place, which is why when I changed over from Blogger just over a year ago now, I brought every single post from Blogger to WordPress. Just so that I could have everything in order in the way that I had posted it. Okay, I'm sorry if that sounds terrible.
It doesn't.
That took me hours. That literally took me hours. But when I made the decision that I was going to move from Blogger, then I just didn't want to leave anything behind, and so I have erased everything from Blogger and moved every single post over to WordPress.
Yeah, that's probably a lot of work.
It was, yeah. But I wanted to have a home. I wanted to have a new home. I was moving, and all of my stuff had to come with me.
Well, yeah, WordPress is probably one of the best blogging platforms out there. Even the OpenMic, the blogging platform that I built, it is also on WordPress. So it's very, very robust and modern. So. We actually have a question from Alex. So Alex asks, here in Guatemala, you can often hear the word infoxication. What do you think about? Does it really possible for us to be infoxicated because of all the information running around the web?
Well, that's the first time I've ever heard of the word infoxication. I suppose that means that you're intoxicated with too much information, right?
Probably.
Yes, definitely. That is one of the reasons why I've organized the pages in the first place, because there is too much information, and so I wanted to try and put it in one place and say, if you want to find out more about this, look at these sites. If you want to find out about this, then there's this group of places where you could read about it. But yes, there is too much information. I think that's why you need to make a decision sometimes about what you're going to read, which groups you're going to belong to, or even which social media you're going to be on. I mean, for example, recently on Facebook, I've just decided to leave lots of groups because, you know, it was just too much. You know, you just have to get to the stage where you have to, you know, you have to decide what's important and what's not important with your time. Yeah, I think you also need to do a little bit of skimming, you know. For example, when I'm going through Twitter, I mean, literally it's on my phone and I'm going like this, you know, and they're just, you know, rushing by. And you just have to get really quite good at just focusing. There's that word there. That might look interesting. But you can't read every email. I mean, again, there are loads of emails. I just look at the title and delete. You know, I'm just not going to open it. There is just not enough time in the day. It's sad, really, because I suppose we're all wanting to have our little slice of fame, our little place on the internet, you know, and also because we've been endlessly told you must have a blog, you must have a LinkedIn page, you've got to have a Facebook page, you've got to have this, you've got to have that, you've got to stand out, you've got to, you know, and of course we're all, you know, here we all are clamoring for attention, and it can get too much, definitely. I will have to remember that. I am definitely infoxicated, if that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think I'm infoxicated too, especially by all the social media. I have recently decided to limit my time that I spend on social media, especially on Facebook. I don't know, for some reason, Facebook doesn't just it sucks you in, because compared to Twitter, Twitter is it's very focused because of the character limitation. So if someone wants to share an idea on Twitter, people do it fast in less than certain amount of characters. But on Facebook, if you go to a group, you can spend hours and hours just reading one comment or two comments, because people basically write, like, they can write whole articles in the comment section. So it's kind of like a universe of its own. And it really distracts me from my actual work or from my side projects like the open mic or this talk show. So I guess I also infoxicated, if we can say it that way.
I think nowadays all are infoxicated, because I'm not really active on Facebook, and I haven't ever been, because exactly that's what Dmitry is saying is exactly the reason why I don't go there too often, because I know I'll get sucked in. So I just prefer to stay away from it altogether.
Yeah.
My thing is reading too many articles about, I don't know, marketing, promoting your business, doing this, doing that, and then just reading these articles and never getting to the actual thing. That's what I'm really struggling with.
But maybe that's because you're just not the type of person who feels that you can do what the article is trying to tell you that you should do. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't read many of these things anymore either, because it has just got too much, and because I feel that, you know, that's not me. You know, if you're going to tell me that I have got to go to a conference or an industry related event, not our industry or our profession, but you've got to go to, you know, the tourism event, and I've got to go out to people and say, hi, you know, hi, I'm me, I'm your translator. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, because I'm not that type of person. I don't want to do it. And I think that basically I feel more liberated to say, no, I'm just not going to do it anymore. You know, you can tell me until you're blue in the face that, okay, I'm just not going to succeed until I get a direct client, because, you know, because you've got to do this and you've got to do that, and you've got to have this and have that. No. It's just all got to stop. I've got my life. I've got my family. They have to come first. And I do what I do. And I think that basically I've also seen it with other people as well. I feel that there is actually going to be a shift in our translation profession, at least online, because I think we have to remember that we at the moment are the faces of the people that are online. There are thousands upon thousands of translators who are extraordinarily successful and earning lots of money, who've, you know, not even heard of Blabbing Translators or Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, any of this, okay? But they're perfectly happy, and they're doing well. And I just feel that also that Basic was going to say that I feel a lot of people online in the online community are now going to make that shift away from, there's been too much focus and attention on marketing, on we're businesses, and you have to do this and you have to do that, which I feel sometimes doesn't make people feel very good about themselves and isn't very motivating, and actually probably makes them feel, well, as it has done me sometimes, that you're not going to get anywhere. That there's going to be this shift towards, we've got to focus on our skills. We have got to be good translators. We have got to be able to revise our translations properly. We need to try and build relationships with people who can be our revisers. And I think that this is a good thing. That's not to say that we can just forget all about the marketing and the business side. Obviously we do need to have some understanding, and we do need to know how to operate in a business environment. But at the end of the day, we are individuals. I don't run a business. I don't have an agency. I don't outsource work very much at all. And I just need to be successful as me. I need to be able to write well, translate well, write well, revise my work well, and I need to keep my customers happy. But I don't necessarily want to expand worldwide and then have to be a business owner running a business and have all those worries, if you see what I mean. I don't know what other people think. Any comments from anybody?
I think the most important thing is to know yourself, and that's thank you for pointing that out. That probably I'm trying to do things that are not exactly me, or thinking about that I have to do something that are not exactly me, and that's something I'll think about. And it's important to understand where you can go and what is natural for you and what is not, and not to be hard on yourself for not doing something that doesn't suit you in the first place.
Yeah,
it's very
exactly.
important.
Well, in my very last blog post, the one about what I learned in May, I mentioned that an article that I'd read, that what happens is that we compare our insides to people's outsides when we look at social media. Okay, and if you look at social media at the moment, in the translation world, there are an awful lot of people saying me, look at me, look what I've done, look what I've achieved. And, it is really, really quite easy, I think, to feel that you haven't achieved as much, that you're not as good, that you don't earn as much, or that you're not as successful. And I don't think that that is very helpful. I mean, it might be helpful for some people. And for those people who find it helpful, then, they can gravitate towards those groups and feel bolstered and supported. But I think that, for the rest of us, maybe if that's not you, and you don't find that comparing yourself to other people is very helpful, then I think it's probably better if you do just leave. And focus on other things, because as I said before, there are thousands and thousands upon thousands of us, and so many thousands who are not even on social media. And I think we just need to remember that sometimes, just because you don't operate your business exactly how somebody else tells you to operate your business doesn't mean that you're not being successful.
That's true.
Yeah, excellent points, Nikki. I particularly love your point about honing your own crafts and focusing on really, when it comes down to that, you can only be successful or achieve great results if you're a good translator, if you have the skills to be a translator or reviser or wherever that you want to be. So at the end of the day, you just have to focus on your craft.
Yes, I think that's true.
And that's the only road to better clients or direct clients or whatever dream you have in mind. Interestingly enough, you said that we, as people who are constantly online, are very visible with all these blog posts we write or all the social activities that we have by posting tweets or writing on Facebook or on any other platforms. I recently read, I think, an article or something like that, where scholars who study linguistics, they actually pay attention to all the blogs and all the opinions. that
Yes.
people post online.
Yes.
And
My blog
and
has even been studied.
yeah, they notice trends. So when you say something online, you gotta understand that people actually read it, and some people actually analyze it, and people actually feel like there is some sort of a trend in their opinion. So at the end of the day, you gotta understand that when you write something, people read, and you have to be, not to say careful, but I don't know how to say it. You gotta pay attention, and because either consciously or subconsciously, people who are always online, who invest a lot of time in getting out there, getting our faces on cameras or whatever, we can set trends. We can we can influence other people. We can influence other translators. So we need to make sure that we bring more good than harm.
Yeah, exactly. No, I fully agree with you. To be honest with you, being influential with a blog post or something that you say is not actually something that I feel very comfortable with. Because, sometimes, when you read a comment on your blog post, or even a comment on a comment that you've added somewhere else, and somebody says, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this now because you said that, you think, oh, I hope that's the right thing, It would be awful to influence somebody to do something that wouldn't be right for them. But of course, it's very difficult to know. So while on the one hand, it's quite flattering to think that what you have said or written has an influence, on the other, I always feel, well, I hope that whatever I said or influenced you to do was the right decision. And when it's something that might be quite radical for them, I do actually sometimes worry about it. You know what I mean? Because I just feel that I hope that because I'm me and what I say and do, is right for me, but it's not necessarily going to be right for somebody else. And I suppose what I'm trying to say is that some people can be quite impressionable.
And some bloggers can take like a very authoritative stance when they say people, you must do this, you have to do this, you need to do this, and I think that's not a very good thing also for our profession and for our industry when people try to influence the opinions of other people without actually giving a proper thought. What if this person, like you said, has a completely different opinion or has a completely different views or different insight, right? I guess we need to put disclaimers before each and every.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This is the opinion of some person from the internet. You don't have to take it to your heart too seriously and use
no,
your
exactly, exactly. That's why I saw on, for example, the articles for New Translators page. I actually say in the introduction, if you actually read some of these articles, you'll see that one blogger tells you to do this. And for that exact same problem or whatever situation, this other blogger tells you to do that. What you're supposed to do is read this, and then make up your own mind. There are lots of conflicting views out there, and you do need to read it and take a step back, and then apply what works for you, I think.
The way I try to work around it is I always try to write my.
I've lost her.
Oops.
Yeah, I've lost her. Have you lost her? Yeah.
Tell people what I have done and what results I got, and then they're free to make up their own minds and to either use it or just read that and forget about that. If that was something that doesn't suit them, as you mentioned, because something that can work for me wouldn't work for someone else.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think we need to chill about that. We need to be cool about the fact that, it is, and not sort of like say, you don't do this, you don't do that, and look at somebody with, terrified eyes, how dare you not do that when, all the gurus, for example, agree. Well, they don't all agree. And, I think we just need to relax and just think, well, as long as we're doing what's right for our own lives, and, we're happy with the level of income that we've got and with the clients that we've got. Or even if we're not entirely happy, that we know that we are actually moving steadily in the right direction, then I think that, we should be content. And as I said before, that wonderful line that I quoted in my last blog post, that, we just should not compare our insides to somebody else's outsides. We need to realize that what people are putting in blog posts, or especially on Facebook, is often the very best and might not necessarily be the whole truth. If you see what I mean, it might be just a rosy coloured view of what is going on in their lives, and doesn't necessarily share all the details.
Yes, absolutely. So we have just passed the 1 hour mark. That means that we probably gonna need to wrap things up. Nikki, would you like to add anything today?
No, not really. Does anybody have any questions? Have I missed anything in all this live chat thing here?
No, we've been monitoring consistently, so far,
Okay.
no more questions. Nancy says it was great, so
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope
because
that,
I'm very nervous.
you cannot tell that you're pretty confident to me.
Well, no, very nervous inside.
Okay, thank you so much, guys, for watching out today's show. And thank you so much, Nikki, for joining us, and for all your work that you put into building all these helpful resources. We're going to share this video on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes in case some of people missed it. So, and we're also going to publish an article on our blog and on OpenMic, and we'll provide links for all the resources that you have, so more people could find. Hopefully, people could find value in them.
Okay.
Well,
thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this, and have a lovely day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.